Jack Harrison yawned as he checked the system monitors one last time. The quiet hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the otherwise silent corridor. Everyone else was asleep. As the night shift maintenance engineer on the research vessel Horizon, Jack was used to the solitude. He actually preferred it this way. Peaceful, predictable, and private. The digital clock on the wall showed 0300 hours. The Horizon had been traveling for 3 years now, heading toward a newly discovered planet in the Kepler system. Most of the 40-person crew was in cryosleep, with only a skeleton crew awake for each 6-month rotation. This was Jack's second rotation awake, with just 4 other crew members currently active. System check complete. All parameters normal, Jack said to himself, stretching his arms above his head. His muscles ached from crawling through the ventilation. Ducks earlier to fix a minor issue with the air filtration system. He tapped a few more buttons on the control panel and logged the night's activities. Nothing unusual to report. Again, sometimes Jack wondered if anything exciting would ever happen on this mission. He had signed up for adventure among the stars, but most days just involved checking gauges and fixing minor problems. Jack's stomach growled. He had skipped dinner earlier to finish his work, and now he was paying for it. He decided to grab something from the mess hall before hitting the shower. The corridors were dimly lit in night mode as he made his way through the ship. His footsteps echoed against the metal floors. The mess hall was empty, of course. Jack heated up a simple meal of synthetic protein and vegetables. Not the most appetizing, but it would do. He ate quickly, his mind already on the hot shower waiting for him. After months in space, simple pleasures became the most important. Things, a warm meal, a hot shower, a few hours of entertainment before sleep. After eating, Jack headed for the communal washroom near the crew quarters. At this hour, he knew he would have the place to himself. The other 4 awake crew members were either sleeping or working in different sections of the ship. The washroom was larger than necessary for the current skeleton crew, designed to accommodate up to 15 people at once when the ship was fully staffed. Jack placed his clean uniform on the bench and hung his towel on the hook outside the shower stall. He stepped inside and turned the water on, sighing with relief as the hot spray hit his tired muscles. For a few minutes, Jack simply stood there, letting the water wash away the day's tension. He closed his eyes, enjoying the moment of relaxation. This was the best part of his day. He had just finished washing his hair when the lights flickered. Jack opened his eyes, suddenly alert. The ship's power rarely fluctuated. He waited, wondering if he should call the bridge. After a few seconds, the lights stabilized and he relaxed again. Probably just a minor power surge, he muttered to himself, reaching for the soap. Then it happened again. The lights flickered more dramatically this time, and Jack heard a strange humming sound growing louder. It wasn't the normal hum of the ship's engines. This was different, higher pitched and pulsating. What the hell? Jack turned off the water and listened carefully. The humming was getting louder, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Suddenly, the entire room vibrated. The lights flickered rapidly, plunging the washroom into momentary darkness before coming back on. The humming reached a peak, then stopped abruptly. Jack stood frozen in the shower stall, water dripping from his naked body. Something wasn't right. He needed to check the systems immediately. He pushed open the shower door and stepped out, reaching for his towel. That's when he saw them. 2 figures stood in the middle of the washroom, directly in front of the shower stalls. They were identical in every way, about 4 feet tall with slender bodies and 4 arms each. Their skin was a translucent blue that seemed to glow slightly in the bright lights of the washroom. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated their faces, with no visible nose and just a small slit for a mouth. They were clearly not human, and they were staring right at Jack. Jack froze, one hand still reaching for his towel, completely exposed. For a moment, no one moved. The two beings looked at each other, then back at Jack. Their large eyes widened even further, and they began making rapid clicking sounds to each other. Who? What are you? Jack finally managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. He slowly reached again for his towel, trying to cover himself. The aliens continued their clicking conversation, but now they were pointing at Jack with their upper arms. Their lower arms were holding some kind of devices that glowed with the same blue light as their skin. Jack's mind raced. Aliens. Actual aliens on the ship. This wasn't possible. They were still years away from their destination. How had these beings gotten aboard? Were they hostile? He finally grabbed his towel and wrapped it around his waist, feeling slightly less vulnerable. I'm going to call the captain, he said slowly, trying to keep his voice calm. He had no idea if they could understand him. The clicking stopped. One of the aliens took a step forward, tilting its head to the side. It raised one of its 4 hands in what might have been a gesture of peace. Then the ship's alarm system activated. Loud, blaring sounds filled the washroom, and red emergency lights began flashing. The automated voice of the ship's AI announced over the speakers. Unknown entities detected. Security protocol activated. All personnel report to emergency stations. The aliens seemed startled by the noise. They looked around in confusion, their clicking becoming more rapid and urgent. Jack used this moment to reach for the emergency communication panel near the shower. This is Engineer Harrison, he said quickly. I have 2 unknown alien entities in the main deck washroom. I repeat, 2 alien entities. This is not a drill. Copy, Harrison, came the immediate response. Security is on the way. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. The aliens were now examining Jack more carefully, their large eyes moving up and down his body. One of them pointed specifically at his chest, then at its own chest, which was covered in what appeared to be a foam fitting. Suit of some kind. Jack realized they seemed more curious than threatening. They hadn't made any aggressive moves, despite his vulnerable position. The washroom door slid open with a hiss. Chief Security Officer Olivia Martinez entered, weapon drawn, followed by 2 security team members similarly armed. Don't move, Olivia shouted, aiming her weapon at the aliens. The aliens turned toward the new arrivals, raising all 4 of their arms in what was clearly a universal gesture of surrender. Wait, Jack called out, still clutching his towel around his waist. They haven't tried to hurt me. I think they're just as surprised as we are. The standoff continued for several tense seconds. Then, the ship's translator AI activated, apparently beginning to process the clicking language of the aliens. Unknown language detected, the AI announced, beginning translation protocol. One of the aliens spoke, its mouth barely moving as the clicks emerged. After a moment, the AI translated, "We apologize for the intrusion. Transport malfunction. We are diplomatic representatives of the Zithrani Collective. We come in peace." Olivia didn't lower her weapon. How did you get aboard? Our ship? More clicking, followed by translation. Long-range matter transport. Targeting error. We meant to arrive in your command center with proper announcement. Most embarrassing. Despite the tension, Jack couldn't help but feel slightly amused. Here, he was practically naked, except for a hastily grabbed towel, face to face with humanity's first alien contact. And apparently, they were just as embarrassed about the situation as he was. Could I get dressed first? Jack asked, looking at Olivia. Before we continue this first contact situation? Olivia nodded, without taking her eyes off the aliens. Get dressed, Harrison. But stay where I can see you? As Jack carefully reached for his uniform, he noticed the aliens were still staring at him, their large eyes filled with what seemed like fascination and shock. Whatever they had expected humans to look like, Jack's naked form had clearly surprised them. This was going to be one hell of a story to tell someday, if he survived it. Jack sat uncomfortably in the ship's conference room, now fully dressed in his uniform. His hair was still damp from the shower, and he hadn't even had time to put on socks. Across the table sat the two alien visitors, who had introduced themselves as Lear and Nal of the Zithrani Collective. Captain Ethan Miller and Science Officer Samantha Reeves had joined them, along with Olivia Martinez, who still kept her hand near her weapon. "So let me get this straight," Captain Miller said, his voice calm but firm. "You've been studying our transmissions for years, and decided to make contact now, while we're still 3 years away from our destination?" The ship's AI translated his words into the clicking language of the Zithrani. Lear, who seemed to be the more talkative of the twins, responded with a series of rapid clicks. "Yes," came the translation. "Your species has reached sufficient technological advancement for formal contact. We have been monitoring human expansion into space. Your current mission brought you close to our observation outpost." Jack couldn't help but stare at the aliens. In the brighter lights of the conference room, he could see that their blue skin was not just translucent, but seemed to have faint patterns flowing beneath it, like moving tattoos. Each of their 4 arms ended in 3-fingered hands with no visible nails or claws. Their large eyes blinked occasionally with a second horizontal eyelid. "And your teleportation technology malfunctioned?" Science Officer Reeves asked, clearly fascinated by the aliens. She had brought a small scanner and was taking readings with the aliens' permission. "Not malfunction exactly," Lear's clicks were. Translated. "Spatial coordinates were improperly calibrated for your vessel's internal layout. We intended to arrive at Command Center. Instead, we arrived at T." There was a pause as the aliens seemed to search for words. "The washroom," Jack finished for them, feeling his face grow warm at the memory. "Yes, water cleaning station." Nell spoke for the first time, the translator converting the clicks. "Most unexpected location for first contact." Captain Miller suppressed what might have been a smile. "Well, it certainly was unexpected for Engineer Harrison here." Jack wished he could disappear. Of all the people on the ship, why did he have to be the one to make first contact? And why did it have to happen while he was naked? "We have questions," Lear said suddenly, pointing one of its slender blue fingers at Jack. "About human physiology." Jack shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I'm not sure I'm the best person to—" "You are perfect example," Nell interrupted. "We observed you without external coverings. Most informative." Science Officer Reeves leaned forward, her scientific curiosity clearly piqued. "What exactly do you find interesting about human physiology?" Lear and Nell exchanged what seemed like a meaningful look before Lear answered. "Humans are ... exposed, vulnerable. Internal organs protected only by thin layer of ... What is word? Skin. Reeves provided. Yes, skin." Lear pointed at his own blue covering. "Zithrani have exoskeletons, hard outer protection. Internal organs well guarded." Jack suddenly understood. "You were surprised because I don't have an exoskeleton?" "Precisely." Nell clicked. "How do humans survive with such minimal protection? One puncture would be fatal." Captain Miller cleared his throat. "Our skin is tougher than it looks, and we have other adaptations. But I'm curious, if you've been studying our transmissions, surely you must have seen humans before." Lear made a gesture with his upper right arm that might have been the equivalent of a shrug. "Transmissions showed humans always covered in artificial exoskeletons which you call clothes. We assumed these were part of your bodies, perhaps molting at intervals like our exoskeletal plates." Jack couldn't help but laugh at that. "You thought our clothes were part of our bodies?" Not unreasonable assumption, Nal clicked defensively. Many species in galaxy have natural body coverings that change for different functions. Science Officer Reeves was taking notes rapidly. This is fascinating. Cultural misunderstandings based on biological differences. There is more, Lear continued, pointing at Jack again. Human size is ... unexpected. Jack frowned. He was 6 feet tall, fairly average for a human male. What about my size? You are enormous, Nal clicked. Zithrani rarely exceed what you measure as 4 feet in height. Your mass and height suggest you should collapse under gravity. That's because our endoskeletons are actually quite strong, Reeves explained excitedly. Our bones are inside our bodies, supporting our weight internally. The twins clicked rapidly to each other in what seemed like amazement. And thermal regulation, Lear added after a moment. Human body temperature is very high, almost burning. T.O. Zithrani. Captain Miller nodded thoughtfully. I think we have a lot to learn from each other, but let's back up a bit. What exactly is the purpose of your visit? Beyond simple first contact? The twins grew noticeably more serious. Their clicking became slower, more deliberate. We come seeking alliance, Lear explained. There is threat in galaxy. Species called Vorax expanding territory, conquering planets. Vorax are aggressive, Nal added, unlike Zithrani. We have not needed weapons or war for thousands of years. We are vulnerable. Captain Miller straightened in his chair. And you think humans could help you against these Vorax? After seeing human Jack, Lear clicked, gesturing at Jack, we are even more convinced. Humans have physical capabilities Zithrani lack. Jack felt oddly proud, despite his embarrassment. His naked body had somehow impressed these aliens, though. Not in the way anyone would have expected. I'll need to contact Earth Command about this, Captain Miller said. A potential alliance with an alien civilization is well beyond my authority. But we can continue diplomatic discussions while we wait for their response. Understood, Lear clicked. We have much to discuss. Much to learn from each other. Captain Miller stood up. Officer Martinez will show you to guest quarters we can prepare for you. Science Officer Reeves will continue discussions about our respective biologies and cultures. As everyone began to stand, Lear made a strange gesture toward Jack. We request human Jack participate in future discussions. Jack froze. Me? Why me? I'm just a maintenance engineer. You provided valuable first insight into human physiology, Nal explained, and showed remarkable calm when faced with unexpected alien presence. Good qualities for cultural exchange. Captain Miller looked at Jack with what might have been amusement. Well, Harrison? Up for becoming our unofficial ambassador? Jack sighed. There was no graceful way out of this. His accidental naked introduction to alien life had somehow made him important to interspecies diplomacy. I guess I don't have much choice, he said. But next time, I'm keeping my clothes on. The ship's AI translated this, and the Zithrani twins made a sound that might have been their version of laughter. A rapid series of clicks that rose and fell in pitch dot as they left the conference room. Jack couldn't help wondering what other surprises these aliens had in store, and how his embarrassing shower incident might have just changed the course of human history. A week had passed since the Zithrani twins' unexpected arrival on the horizon. Jack found himself spending more and more time with the aliens, especially Lear, who seemed endlessly curious about humans. Today, they were in the ship's gym, where Jack was demonstrating basic human exercise routines. So you deliberately stress your muscles to make them stronger? Lear asked, watching as Jack completed a set of push-ups. The alien's forearms were folded across its slender chest, large eyes blinking in fascination. That's right, Jack said, standing up and wiping sweat from his forehead. The more we use our muscles, the stronger they get. Up to a point, anyway. Nal stood nearby, recording everything with a small device. The more reserved of the twins, Nal spoke less, but observed everything with intense focus. Remarkable adaptation, Nal clicked. Zithrani bodies do not change after maturity. Our exoskeletons harden and remain fixed. Jack took a drink of water. So you can't get stronger through exercise? No, Lear explained. When Zithrani need new abilities, we molt and grow slightly different exoskeleton. Takes many weeks, very vulnerable during process. And painful, Nal added. We avoid unless necessary. Jack tried to imagine what it would be like to shed your entire outer body to adapt. Human skin constantly replaced itself, cell by cell, without any dramatic shedding process. Just another difference between their species. Let us try your lifting weights, Lear suggested suddenly, pointing to the dumbbells racked against the wall. Jack hesitated. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Your bodies are structured differently than ours. Small weights only, Lear insisted, for science. Jack shrugged and selected the lightest pair of dumbbells, just 5 pounds each. He demonstrated a simple bicep curl before handing them to Lear. The Zithrani took the weights, one in each of its upper hands. As soon as Jack let go, Lear's arms dipped dramatically. The alien struggled, using all 4 arms to support the weights. Heavy, Lear clicked in surprise. Much heavier than expected. Those are our lightest weights, Jack said, quickly taking them back. Maybe we should try something else. Nal made a series of rapid clicks that the ship's translator interpreted as, "This confirms our gravity adaptation theory. Humans evolved on a planet with stronger gravity than Zithrani homeworld. Your muscles and skeletal structure are naturally more robust." Jack hadn't considered that. Earth's gravity might be perfectly normal to him, but to the Zithrani, it could feel crushing. That would explain their smaller size and lighter build. Is that why you're interested in humans helping against the Vorax? Jack asked. Because we're physically stronger? The twins exchanged looks before Lear answered. Hardly, but there is more. Your endurance, healing ability, temperature adaptability, all valuable traits. Come, Nal clicked suddenly. Time for meeting with your science officer and captain. We have compiled full list of human advantages. As they made their way to the conference room, Jack noticed other crew members watching the aliens with curiosity. The initial fear had given way to fascination. Having aliens aboard the horizon was the most exciting thing to happen in the 3 years since the mission began. In the conference room, Captain Miller and Science Officer Reeves were already waiting, along with Dr. Frank Lopez, the ship's physician. The captain had asked Dr. Lopez to join these discussions to provide medical expertise on human physiology. Good afternoon, Captain Miller greeted them. I've received a preliminary response from Earth Command. They're very interested in learning more about the Zithrani and this potential alliance. They've authorized me to continue diplomatic discussions while a formal delegation prepares to meet us. Excellent news, Lear clicked, settling into a specially modified chair that accommodated their 4 arms. We've been compiling data on human physical capabilities, Nal explained, activating a small projector device. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing comparison charts between human and Zithrani physiology. As you can see, Nal continued, humans exceed Zithrani in several key areas. Physical strength is obvious difference, but others are equally important. Dr. Lopez leaned forward, studying the charts with professional interest. These measurements of our healing rate, they're quite accurate. How did you gather this data? Medical records from your ship's database, Lear clicked. Your captain granted access. With certain restrictions, Captain Miller added quickly. Most impressive is human endurance, Nal clicked, highlighting another section of the display. Zithrani require rest after minimal exertion. Humans can continue physical activity for hours. Jack thought about his morning runs around the ship's track. He typically did 5 miles without much effort. Apparently, that would be impossible for a Zithrani. And temperature range, Lear added excitedly. Humans function in temperatures from what you call freezing to sweltering heat with minimal protection. Zithrani require environmental suits for temperature variations of more than 10 degrees. Science Officer Reeves was taking notes rapidly. This is fascinating. Our adaptations evolved for Earth's varied climates, but they give us advantages in space exploration too. What about the Vorax? Jack asked. How do they compare? The twins grew noticeably more subdued. Lear dimmed the holographic display before responding. Vorax are predatory species, evolved from pack hunters on harsh desert world. Physically stronger than Zithrani, though not as strong as humans. Their advantage is aggression and numbers. They have conquered 3 systems in past decade, Nal added. Their expansion brings them closer to Zithrani space. And your people aren't fighters, Captain Miller said, understanding now. You need allies who can help defend your worlds. Yes, Lear confirmed. Zithrani have advanced technology, but no warrior tradition. No physical capacity for extended conflict. Jack remembered how Lear had struggled with even the lightest dumbbells. A species that physically fragile would be at a severe disadvantage in any kind of direct confrontation. We offer technology exchange, Nal clicked. Our advancements in teleportation, energy production, medical science. In return, human protection and tactical expertise. Captain Miller nodded thoughtfully. It seems like a complementary arrangement. Your brains, our brawn, so to speak. Crude but accurate summary, Lear clicked, with what might have been amusement dot as the meeting continued. Jack found himself drawn into a side conversation with Lear. The alien seemed particularly interested in human social structures. You form family units based on emotional bonds rather than practical function? Lear asked. Generally, yes, Jack replied. Don't Zithrani have families? We have functional groupings, Lear explained. Twins like Nal and I are rare, produced only for specific roles requiring perfect synchronization. Most Zithrani are born individually, assigned to function groups based on abilities. Jack was fascinated by these glimpses into Zithrani society. So you and Nal were specifically bred to be diplomats? Yes, our genetic pattern optimized for communication, pattern recognition, memory retention. We share telepathic bond that helps in negotiations. Wait, you're telepathic? Jack asked, surprised. Only with each other, Lear clarified. All Zithrani twins share mind link. Very useful for diplomatic work. Jack wondered what it would be like to share your thoughts with someone else. To never be truly alone in your own mind. The idea was both intriguing and slightly unsettling dot as the meeting wrapped up. Captain Miller asked Jack to continue working closely with the twins. They seem comfortable with you, Harrison. And we need to learn as much as possible before the delegation arrives. Jack nodded, realizing that his accidental first contact in the shower had somehow turned him into a cultural ambassador. Life had certainly gotten more interesting since the twins walked in on him naked. And from what he was learning about the Vorax threat, things were only going to get more interesting from here. 2 weeks had passed since the Zithrani twins arrived on the horizon. The crew had grown accustomed to the aliens' presence, and formal diplomatic talks were proceeding well. Earth Command had sent a series of detailed messages, expressing great interest in the potential alliance with the Zithrani against the Vorax threat. Jack was in engineering with Lear, showing the curious alien how the ship's propulsion systems worked. Engineer Nicole Jordan was helping explain the more technical aspects that Jack wasn't as familiar with. So this containment field keeps the reaction stable? Lear asked, 4 arms gesturing at different parts of the engine diagram on the screen. Exactly. Nicole replied, Without it, the energy would. A sudden violent shudder ran through the ship, cutting her off mid-sentence. Warning lights flashed red, and the emergency alarm began to blare. What's happening? Jack shouted over the noise, steadying himself against a console. Nicole's fingers flew across the control panel. Something hit us. Port side, near the auxiliary systems. The ship's AI announced over the speakers. Warning. Unknown vessel detected. Weapons fire registered. All personnel to battle stations. Lear's blue skin paled to an almost white color. Vorax, the alien clicked rapidly. They found us. How? Jack asked, helping Lear stay upright as another impact rocked the ship. The Zithrani's lighter body was more affected by the violent movement than the humans. Must have detected our transport signature when we arrived, Lear clicked frantically. Scout vessel likely monitoring this sector. Nicole looked up from her console, her face grim. Main power grid is fluctuating. We've lost life support in sections 5 through 8. Jack's mind raced. That's near the science labs? Where's? Now, Lear's large eyes widened. My twin was with Science Officer Reeves in the biology lab, Section 7. The ship's communication system crackled to life with Captain Miller's voice. All hands, this is the captain. We are under attack, what appears to be a Vorax scout vessel. Defensive systems are engaging. Engineering, we need full power to shields. Nicole responded immediately. Captain, this is Jordan in engineering. We're rerouting power now, but we've lost life support in sections 5 through 8. Acknowledged, Miller replied. Security teams are evacuating those sections. All non-essential personnel get to emergency shelters. Jack turned to Lear. We need to get you to safety? The alien shook its head, a human gesture it had picked up. No, must find Mal. Twins cannot be separated in danger. Before Jack could argue, the ship's AI made another announcement. Alert. Environmental conditions in Section 7 reaching critical levels. Temperature rising. Oxygen levels falling. Lear made a high-pitched clicking sound that the translator didn't catch. Jack recognized it as distress. Nal is in danger, Lear clicked urgently. Zithrani cannot survive high temperatures. Our exoskeletons become brittle. Jack looked at Nicole. I'm going to Section 7 to help with evacuation. Nicole nodded. Be careful. I'll keep working on restoring power. Jack and Lear hurried through the corridors. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow, and crew members rushed in different directions, following evacuation protocols. The ship shuddered again as another impact hit. They reached the boundary of Section 7, where a security barrier had been activated. Officer Martinez was there, directing crew members coming from the affected area. Harrison, you can't go in. There, she said when she saw Jack approaching. Temperatures up to 110 degrees and rising. Oxygen's dropping fast. Nal and Science Officer Reeves are still in there, Jack explained. Have they checked in? Martinez checked her tablet. Reeves reported they're trapped. Lab door sealed when emergency protocols activated. We're working on override, but systems are damaged. Lear stepped forward. My twin will die in these conditions. Zithrani body temperature must remain cool. Jack made a quick decision. I'm going in. Humans can handle higher temperatures better than Zithrani. Not alone, Martinez argued. Protocol requires. There's no time. Jack interrupted. Lear, stay here. I'll find Nal. Before anyone could stop him, Jack pressed his palm against the emergency override, using his engineer's access code. The barrier slid open just enough for him to slip through, then closed behind him. The heat hit him immediately. It was like walking into a sauna, and getting worse by the minute. Jack could feel sweat breaking out all over his body as he moved down the corridor toward the biology lab. The air was getting thinner, too. Jack controlled his breathing, taking measured breaths to conserve oxygen. His training had prepared him for emergency situations, but this was pushing the limits. When he reached the biology lab, he found the door sealed shut. Through the small window, he could see Science Officer Reeves working frantically at a control panel. On the floor beside her was Nell. The alien's blue skin faded to an alarming gray color. Jack tapped on the window. Reeves looked up, relief washing over her face when she saw him. She pointed to the door mechanism, gesturing that it was jammed. Jack examined the door. The electronic lock had failed, but there was a manual override. He pulled off the access panel and began working the mechanical release. His fingers were already slick with sweat, making it difficult to grip the small components. After what felt like an eternity, the mechanism clicked and the door slid open a few inches. Jack pushed his fingers into the gap and forced it open. Wider. "Thank God you're here," Reeves gasped, her face red from the heat. "Nell collapsed a few minutes ago. Their species can't tolerate these temperatures." Jack knelt beside the unconscious alien. Nell's breathing was shallow, the chest barely moving. "We need to get out of here now," Jack said, carefully lifting Nell's light body. The alien weighed less than a human child, making it possible for Jack to carry them easily. "The environmental controls are completely fried," Reeves explained as they hurried back toward the barrier. Temperatures still rising. Jack could feel it. The corridor seemed even hotter now, the air thinner. His head was starting to pound, and his vision blurred slightly at the edges. But he pressed on, carrying Nell while Reeves followed close behind. Halfway back, they encountered another problem. Part of the ceiling had collapsed, blocking the corridor. The only way through was a narrow maintenance shaft that ran along the wall. "We'll have to crawl through," Jack said, already planning how to manage with Nell's unconscious body. "Can you manage with Nell?" Reeves asked, concern in her voice. Jack nodded. "I'll go first, pulling Nell behind me. You follow and make sure they don't get caught on anything." The shaft was narrow and hot, the metal burning against Jack's skin. He pulled himself through with one arm, using the other to carefully drag Nell's limp form. The alien's 4 limbs made the process awkward, but Jack managed to keep them from getting tangled. By the time they reached the other side of the blockage, Jack's lungs were burning from the thin air, and his muscles ached from the awkward crawling. But he didn't stop. He picked up Nell again and continued toward the barrier. When they finally reached it, Martinez was waiting with a medical team. The barrier opened, and cool air rushed in, feeling like heaven against Jack's overheated skin. "Get Nell to medical immediately," Jack gasped as he handed the alien to the medical team. "Zithrani need lower temperatures than humans." As the team rushed Nell away, Jack sank to his knees, exhausted. Lear approached, the alien's large eyes filled with what Jack recognized as gratitude. "You saved my twin," Lear clicked softly. "At risk to yourself." Jack managed a tired smile. "Just doing my job." Over the ship's communication system, Captain Miller's voice rang out. "The Vorax vessel is retreating. Defensive systems successful. All departments report status." Martinez helped Jack to his feet. "You need to get checked out too." Jack nodded, suddenly aware of how drained he felt. As they made their way to the medical bay, he noticed Lear watching him with new respect. "What you did," Lear clicked. "No Zithrani could have done it. The heat, the exertion, the strength needed. This is why we need humans as allies." For the first time since the twins had walked in on him in the shower, Jack felt truly proud of being human. What seemed ordinary to him, the ability to withstand heat, to carry another being to safety, to push through physical discomfort, was extraordinary to the Zithrani. Sometimes it took an alien perspective to appreciate what it meant to be human. 3 days after the Vorax attack, The horizon was mostly repaired. The damaged sections had been sealed off for more extensive repairs, but life support and essential systems were functioning normally again. In the medical bay, Nal had recovered from the heat exposure, though the aliens' movements were still slower than usual. Jack entered the medical bay carrying a small package. Dr. Lopez had just finished examining Nal and gave Jack a thumbs up. "Our patient is doing much better today," the doctor said. "Zithrani physiology is remarkably resilient once returned to proper environmental conditions." "Good to hear," Jack said, approaching Nal's bed. "How are you feeling?" Nal's large eyes blinked slowly. "Better. Exoskeleton no longer feels brittle." "Thank you for saving me, human Jack." Jack smiled. "Just glad I could help. The captain wants to see us all in the conference room when you're ready. The twins have a special communication scheduled with their homeworld." Lear, who had barely left Nal's side since the rescue, stood up from a nearby chair. "It is time. The High Council wishes to speak with all of you." Dr. Lopez nodded. "Nal is cleared to leave medical. Just take it slow for today." Jack helped Nal stand, noticing how the alien moved carefully, like someone recovering from a bad sunburn. The twins had explained that extreme heat weakened their exoskeletons, making movement painful until they fully healed. They made their way slowly to the conference room, where Captain Miller, Science Officer Reeves, and Chief Security Officer Martinez were already waiting. At the center of the table was a strange crystalline device that Lear had set up earlier. "Is everyone ready?" Captain Miller asked as they entered. Lear stepped forward. "Yes, this communication is very important. The High Council will decide on our proposed alliance based on what they hear today." The captain gestured to the chairs. "Then let's not keep them waiting." Lear activated the crystalline device. It glowed with a soft blue light, then projected a holographic image above the table. 5 Zithrani appeared, seated in what looked like a semicircle. They were older than the twins, their blue skin darker, and their movements more deliberate. "Greetings, High Council." Lear and Nal clicked in perfect unison, bowing slightly. The central figure in the hologram responded with a series of clicks that the ship's translator converted. "Diplomatic twins Lear and Nal, we receive your transmission. These are the humans you have encountered?" Captain Miller stepped forward. "I am Captain Ethan Miller of the Earth research vessel Horizon. We welcome this opportunity to speak with the leaders of the Zithrani Collective." The Central Counselor's large eyes studied each human carefully through the hologram. "We have reviewed all data transmitted by our diplomatic team. Most interesting, especially the initial encounter circumstances." Jack felt his face grow warm. The initial encounter circumstances referred to him being caught naked in the shower. He hadn't realized the twins had included that in their reports. "The human physical capabilities are impressive," another counselor clicked. "Particularly the recent rescue during the Vorax attack." The hologram shifted, showing footage from the ship's security cameras. Jack saw himself carrying Nal through the overheated section, crawling through the maintenance shaft, and finally delivering the unconscious alien to safety. The twins must have accessed the ship's logs to send this to their leaders. "This human, Jack Harrison," the central counselor clicked, pointing at Jack, "demonstrated abilities no Zithrani possesses. Heat tolerance, physical strength, endurance." Jack shifted uncomfortably as all eyes turned to him. "I just did what anyone would do in that situation." Lear translated this comment for the council, adding something that the ship's translator didn't catch. The counselors clicked rapidly among themselves. "What concerns us," the central figure continued after a moment, "is whether humans would use these abilities to protect Zithrani, or if you might eventually become a threat yourselves. Many physically powerful species in our galaxy have chosen paths of conquest." Captain Miller responded firmly. humanity has moved beyond using strength for domination. We explore space seeking knowledge and peaceful cooperation. The rescue you witnessed wasn't extraordinary for us. It represents our core values of protecting all life." The counselors discussed this among themselves before the central figure spoke again. "We have one more question." For Jack Harrison directly. Jack stepped forward nervously. "Yes?" "You were discovered by our diplomatic team in a vulnerable state. You had every reason to react with fear or aggression. Instead, you showed calm and adaptability. Why?" Jack thought carefully before answering. "I was surprised, yes, and embarrassed. But I could see the twins were just as shocked as I was. They didn't seem threatening, just curious and confused. In space, we need to expect the unexpected and stay calm when it happens." The central counselor's eyes blinked slowly as it considered Jack's words. Wisdom as well as strength. Perhaps this is why your species has progressed so quickly. There was more discussion among the counselors, their clicking too rapid for the translator to keep up. Finally, they seemed to reach a decision. The High Council approves the proposed alliance between the Zithrani Collective and humans of Earth, the central counselor announced. "We will send formal diplomatic delegation to your homeworld. In return, we request that the Horizon and its crew escort our diplomatic twins back to Zithrani space to begin technology exchange." Captain Miller looked surprised, but pleased. "We would be honored, though I'll need approval from Earth Command for such a significant change to our mission." "Understood?" the counselor clicked. "We await your leadership's response." As the hologram faded, everyone in the conference room sat in stunned silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. Did we just redirect an entire 3-year scientific mission to become alien escorts? Science Officer Reeves finally asked. Captain Miller smiled slightly. "It appears so. I'll contact Earth Command immediately, but given their interest in this alliance, I expect approval." Lear approached Jack, holding a small crystalline object similar to the communication device, but smaller and more intricate. "For you, human Jack, a token of gratitude from the Zithrani people." Jack accepted the gift carefully. "What is it?" "Emotion. Crystal," now explained. "It changes color based on the emotions of the holder. Very rare. Given only to those considered true friends of the Zithrani." As Jack held the crystal, it glowed with a warm golden light. "What does this color mean?" "Respect, friendship, trust," Lear clicked. "The crystal sees the truth in your heart." Jack looked at the glowing crystal in his palm, then at the alien twins who had literally walked in on him at his most vulnerable moment less than a month ago. What had started as the most embarrassing moment of his life had somehow led to humanity's first interstellar alliance. "When we return to Earth with you," Jack said to the twins, "I think I'll leave out the exact details of how we first met when I tell the story to my family." The ship's translator converted Lear and Nal's response. "Why?" "It is a perfect example of how appearances mean nothing compared to actions. You showed us what humans truly are, not just physically different, but morally strong." Captain Miller put a hand on Jack's shoulder. "They're right, Harrison. Sometimes it takes being caught with our defenses down for others to see who we really are." Jack nodded, looking again at the golden crystal in his hand. Being human wasn't just about having a strong body that could withstand heat or carry others to safety. It was about using those abilities to help others, even those who were completely different from yourself. As the Horizon prepared for its new mission, escorting the Zithrani twins home, Jack couldn't help but smile at the strange path his life had taken. All because 2 aliens had walked in on him naked and been shocked by what they saw.